possibility. When we talked about it the first time, it was, I think we were trying to do is make it a disease that people had, but they had to deal with chronic disease, and et cetera, and et cetera. But it's beyond that now, huh? Well, that's what we need to know that. I didn't know that. So we got 10 minutes, so let's give them as much information as you possibly can. And this is the last 10 minutes I have for today. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Mr. Ron Crowder, and the topic is AIDS and street works. Mr. Crowder, let's see if we might be able to devote this final 10 minutes to dealing with some of the issues, dealing with support for those individuals who are out trying to deal with this as an issue, grants and what the government is doing, what the state is doing, and what has to be done. And I think you've already mentioned that New York is on the road of perhaps ending this disease by, what, 2020? Okay, and that's a very, very optimistic report from what we know about the disease. So let's look at it within that framework.
Okay. Well, as I said earlier, Dr. Haney, New York does have a very optimistic goal of trying to end AIDS in 2020. I have my mentor, Reverend Dr. Charles King, who is the CEO of an agency in New York called Housing Works. He initiated that way back probably 10 years ago. He started a campaign called Campaign to End AIDS. C2EA, and so he gathered leaders from around the country, and he's been advocating for the ending of AIDS for a long time. So he went to the governor of New York, and they came up with ending AIDS by 2020, and so the governor got on board and supported that, and so they're really on track to ending AIDS in 2020. Now, I say that to say this. They are setting the model. Nashville is getting right on board with it. So, and everybody around the country is on board with, hey, we're in a position to end AIDS. And so that's what we're working on. As I mentioned earlier, one of the ways that that's going to happen is getting to the people who are HIV positive and is not in medical care, whether it be they done fell out of medical care or where they are HIV positive and don't know it. Our new job now is finding people and getting them into medical care. That's how we're going to end this epidemic.
And so you've got a real outreach program, and I think you've been doing outreach all along, have you not?
Yes,
but
we have.
But now it's a little different. You can be a little more optimistic in terms of that you're not working something that has no end. Because in other words, AIDS can be defeated. Is that what we're saying? And I think that for so long we worked from the premise that there was nothing that could end that we could do.
And let me say, I can be proud to say that the federal government, they get it. They get it now. So they are putting their resources into where the epidemic is. And that is young, black MSM. They just put over 40, I can't remember how much it is, but I know Nashville, Nashville is receiving $3.8 million over the next 5 years. Nashville Cares, who is one of the oldest ASOs, AIDS service organizations in Tennessee, wrote the grant. StreetWorks and United Health, which used to be United Neighborhood Health Services, UN, but they didn't change the name. I think it's United Health. So it's Nashville Cares, who is the lead on the grant, United Health, which is a FQHC, federally qualified health center, and StreetWorks, all collaborated in a unified effort to work on a grant targeting young black African American gay men who have sex with men. And so over the next 5 years, we will receive $3.8 million, $750,000 a year over the next 5 years, per year for the next 5 years. And what we're going to do with that money is create a gay black health center. Well, it's actually a gay health center. We're going to be targeting young African Americans, but it's going to be for all gay. But it's going to be a one-stop shop type center. And so then the gay men have one place they can go to receive all of their services. And we think that that will help in what we're trying to do to reduce what we call community viral load. Because in that community, if we can reduce the viral load within that community, it will have a trickle effect in reducing the viral load in all of Nashville, thus reducing new infections. So that's where we're going with that. And so the federal government is putting their money where the epidemic is. So and that's all over the country. So they put a lot of money in this new round of funding. And we are very, very lucky here in Nashville to be able to receive some of that funding.
And so we've become quite optimistic as a nation in terms of the possibilities of ending AIDS.
Absolutely.
When more than 8 or 10 years ago, it was believed to be incurable, and that the only thing you could do was to believe it was something that you had to live with the rest of your life, and et cetera. But progress has come to such a point now that we can be optimistic now to say that there's a possibility that we might be able to end this disease by 2020. I mean, if we could say that, because 10 years ago we thought this was a disease that would last forever.
Well, this is what's going to happen. When we say end it by 2020, what we're saying is by 2020, the new infection rate will be very small, and then the people who have it will have to, I mean, it'll still be around because
small and manageable.
Yeah, because those people who have it, they got to live out their life. So it'll be around for
a while, but in terms of the massive problems that we had with it, and that it was spreading everywhere, and people were talking about it, and et cetera, we're near a period where we're ending that kind of activity in reference to it, looking toward one day of ending it completely.
Yes.
And I think that if we can say that we're looking toward ending it completely, that's better than we've ever been able to say, because we always believed that it was something that went up for always and forever.
Yeah, I say 5 years ago we was looking at it as a chronic disease, just like diabetes, which it still is a chronic disease for the people who have it. In other words, they'll be able to live with it. Again, it's all contingent upon them staying in medical care and being adherent. That's the thing. You must be adherent to the medication, because if you become resistant to the medicine by not being adherent, then a lot of these medications is, if you become resistant to one medication in that class of drugs, then you are resistant to every medication in that entire class.
And so the idea now is to get people to deal with their medication and to understand that it cannot help you if you don't take it.
Religiously.
You got to
not just take it. You need, if they say, look, take this medicine once a day.
As prescribed.
Yeah. So that means you take it the same time every day. You know, and let me say this, Dr. Haney. We know that even a doctor can't take medicine, you know, because they done some studies on some doctors, and they were no more adherent than the ordinary Joe Blow.
Mr. Crowder, let me